Welcome, Eyes of the Wheel. I have a good friend with me here today that I am so excited about. Her name is Vivian, and we are both yoga teachers. So we definitely vibe on that level. But she has a lot more wisdom and passion towards herbalism and plant medicine. And I've just kind of tried a few things here and there and definitely know and feel the power of it. But I strongly felt like I wanted to have her on today so she could share her knowledge, her wisdom, and everything around this topic of adding herbalism and plant medicine to the yoga meditation lifestyle. So, welcome, Vivian.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I always love chatting with you, and we always end up going somewhere super interesting whenever we get a few minutes to chat. So I'm happy to do that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it will be interesting to see where this conversation goes. So, but yeah, like I guess the beginning. So, how did this start for you?
Um, so I guess I'll go way back to I don't know. I want to say just over 10 years ago, when I kind of just decided I wanted um, to make my work something that I'm more passionate about. And I got into nutrition and wellness, and loved that. But I just always felt that there was something deeper that I was missing. Um, Especially when I started working with clients, and I realized that it wasn't all science and calories in, calories out,
Right.
micronutrients, and that really took me to mindfulness yoga, um, in a sense that it really I was working with clients who were just kind of like, I did everything you told me to do, and nothing changed. And then
Mm,
I really realized that it had nothing to do with well, it does have something to do with what you're eating, but also what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and there's just a more holistic view that I wanted to explore. And that just took a whole other turn. It really connected me to, well, we'll get into it. We'll get into more of connection to nature, and just a more holistic view of yourself and your life and all of that.
yeah, absolutely. So, I guess it started with nutrition for you then. Like it started with food, and then it led you towards mindfulness and
Yeah, and then from there, I mean, sort of when we met, I was really um, surrounded by a really inspiring group of women, all in their own right. And definitely you are one of them.
mm,
Um, People that would have conversations with that would leave me feeling, really lit up and inspired.
yeah.
And we started doing a lot of work around moon cycles and wise woman traditions. So, really diving deep into how, as women, I guess we're getting right into it here. We're just, our cycles mimic the moon cycle, our life cycle mimics the seasons of nature. And then from there, I just, dug deeper and deeper, and really felt that connection between ourselves as humans and nature. We are nature,
Mhm.
and there's no separating that. And then I from there I started incorporating more plants and herbal wisdom, and just dove down that path. And that's how I got really into herbalism. And
Oh,
it's also a family tradition. During that whole time, I was just really inspired by wisdom traditions. So going back into, like, what did our ancestors use to heal? To How did they live? Yeah.
yeah, that's totally fair. Yeah, it's like all linked together, like you come at it from so many different angles, but then you're like, "Oh, it's all the same."
It's
Um,
all. Mhm.
so what does herbalism mean or plant plant medicine mean? Like, what's the meaning to you for that?
Well, I mean, I think it would mean there's not one definition. Herbalism in itself, like just from a general definition, would just be the study of herbs, just like studying botany, really. And I know people who have taken that in so many different directions. Um, some are really interested in the science of it. Some are really interested in the more spiritual elements. So there's all these sort of the history and tradition. There's all these paths that you can take,
Mhm.
um, and plant medicine also means different things to different people. Now you're probably going to hear that term a lot in relation to psychedelics and that kind of um, using plants for spiritual journeying, which isn't a new thing, but just is something that's obviously more um, people seem to be really drawn to it. It's more public now, I guess, more mainstream. Um, but for me, plant medicine is simply looking to plants to heal, looking to nature to heal. And that really, to heal and to keep ourselves in balance. And that stems from my belief that because we are a part of nature and not separate at all from the natural world, um, plants communicate with our bodies very naturally. And this came up for me early on in nutrition, where I was just like kind of over all the trendy diets, and
Right.
because just like just eat real food, just eat real food, and that's how your body. Um, that's something your body recognizes and knows what to do with.
Mhm.
So listening, observing, using the medicine that's there to keep yourself healthy and whole and balanced.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful, and it's definitely I feel like a slow journey for us back to nature because it feels like the industrial revolution just pulled us all inwards, like into the cities, into houses, onto the internet. And now we just really don't rely on nature to survive in the way we used to. Like we can just plug something in or flick a switch and we don't even have to look out the window if we don't want to. And I guess that's really like disconnected us a lot from nature, and especially like, yeah, my generation, like you went out if you wanted to, but it wasn't like necessary. And so there's been this disconnect. And I feel like it's, yeah, really beautiful to think about plants as, first connecting with it through, yeah, I'll get you to maybe elaborate on that more, like how you use the plants. Did you ingest them or put them on yourself? Or, yeah, how does that all work?
Um, well, I'm glad you asked. I get that question a lot. And again, it's another one of those things that there's no one way. Everybody has a different relationship.
Yeah.
Um, and the way I've approached everything from the beginning, like I said, from that beginning of the journey is, well, I can't say that I always knew this, but I have learned it over the years,
Yeah.
is that number one, you don't have to be an expert at everything. So once I, again, starting with nutrition, once I got into it, I realized I was more drawn to just simplicity, to eat real food. Same
Mhm.
thing with yoga and meditation.
Yeah.
Um, we've had this conversation before about yoga where there's teachers and gurus they just have this beautiful, strong practice, and they just in terms of what you traditionally think of a strong practice, inversions and headstands and all the fancy stuff. But
Yeah.
for me, that never resonated with me. That didn't do anything for me. For me, my yoga practice was very simple, and my classes that I teach are very simple. So they're not for everybody,
Mhm.
obviously.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, it's the daily habit,
Yeah.
and um, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. So
Mhm.
when you get into herbs and incorporating them into your everyday, I know people, and I definitely have mentors and friends that are just experts, and they can go out and forage and find something in the woods and bring it home and know how to tincture it and do all the stuff with it. And I love to see that, but I'm not there. I mean, with maybe a couple things I could do that, but
Yeah.
that's not my need. I don't
Mhm,
need to be an expert.
mhm.
So when you're looking at incorporating herbs into your everyday, um, first you like, for example, if I'm looking at a tea, I'm just going to think what my favorite tea, nettle tea. I think we've talked about this. There's all sorts of different ways that you can take it. For me, I like to start with just like a very simple herbal tea. That's it. Just an herbal tea,
Mhm.
um, and just see how it feels in my body. See if it's even for me.
Mm,
And then from there, if I like that, I incorporate it. I can maybe look to different ways to bring it into my life. I can look at a tincture. I can look at a powdered, an extracted powder that would be much more potent. Um, I'm off track now. What did I want to say?
okay, yeah.
So you want to look at function. What am I looking for? And you want to look at how am I going to take this personally? I
Mm,
know I recommend things to some people, um, and they're like, I don't make tea. I don't like tea. I don't
mm,
like it. I have a smoothie in the morning. What can I put in my smoothie? For
right.
them, like a powder would be a great something that they can purchase that's manufactured, that
Mhm,
extracted, and that's easy to take. For
mhm.
someone else, I know I recommended tinctures for you. They didn't work for you.
Yeah,
It really depends on what your habits are.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tinctures are those little, like, bottles with the droplets that you can put, like, under your tongue or, like, whatever.
Yes, absolutely. So something like a tincture would be extracted in alcohol.
Okay.
Um, so a lot of more of the medicinal properties
Mhm,
will come out into the tincture, and then it's also very quickly absorbed in your body.
mhm,
For someone who has like a compromised digestion and doesn't absorb nutrients from their food, that would be an excellent vehicle
mhm.
for whatever herb they're looking at taking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and there's, like, thousands of herbs, I'm guessing, like, just
thousand. Yeah, yeah. Think about just what grows everywhere around the world. But what I love,
mhm.
this was a big kind of, what do you call it? A big, like, I was very excited when I had this thought,
Yeah,
this realization
yeah.
that nature is completely redundant. Like, um, if you think about all the different cultures and all the different climates around the world, they all have something that is a vitamin C, a protein, a vitamin D, something like that covers every nutrient, because as humans, we all have, basic needs.
Mhm,
So you don't have to take everything. You just have to take what feels best in your own body.
mhm.
Um, and I have friends herbalist friends who swear by certain things that just they
Mm,
don't resonate with me.
mhm.
And so I just move on and find the next thing that
Yeah.
does. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely that journey. And I've been kind of on that with herbs and like, I guess, some medicinal mushrooms and just like trying them and being like, okay, like that one, I didn't really feel anything. I can't really tell if anything's happening or not. And the other one, like, okay, I can feel it. And then sometimes if I take them too much, then I end up getting a little like a tummy ache or something starts to feel off. So then I got to think like, okay, maybe not every day, maybe like, when I'm drawn to it. And that's all been a process for me. Like it was just walking into Light Cellar, which is a place that sells this stuff where we live. And yeah, just talking to Vivian and being like, okay, like this was something that I wanted something for. And then she's like, hey, try this, and you try it. And yeah, just allow yourself to expose yourself to the journey because it is kind of fun. And I guess this, like, especially as yoga teachers, being very sensitive and open-hearted, I guess we feel things deeply. So if you relate to that, like I really think that this journey would be fulfilling for you. Yeah.
Well, and that's part of when I say it's all connected,
Mhm.
um, you know, that's the yoga of it,
Right.
right? Like the stopping and being so there's a real difference. There's a you see a lot of people just like something becomes trendy and then they're just like I have to take this, or I
Right.
have to eat this way, I have to be keto, or I have to be vegan, or I have to be whatever, or I have to take this new superfood. And maybe it's good for you, but maybe it's not. So it's and that's where the yoga of it comes in, where it's like stop, check in. How does this actually feel in my own body? Because we're all,
Mhm.
you know, biologically different.
Mhm.
Does this feel right? Do I need this? I think if we just stopped and listened
Mhm.
to what our bodies are communicating, we'd have a lot of the answers that we seek.
Mhm.
And same thing with a yoga practice.
Yeah.
Maybe you've done like a super strong class for 10 years and one day you're just like, this doesn't,
Mm.
when you check in, this is actually what I need. Maybe I need a yin class
Yeah.
today. Maybe I need, something different. Oh, my dog's barking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the answers are inside yourself, and um, yeah, I've noticed it with myself, like, and maybe with others can relate, is like just the self-doubt that comes up. You're like, "Oh, I think I know what I want, but maybe I don't. Maybe I should Google it or ask 5 people first." But I've noticed that more and more when I just walk into a place that has herbs, or, it's there, and I just kind of tune into my body and walk around, like, I start to be drawn to certain things, and you don't know why, but you don't have to know why. And more often than not, I read, hey, a little doggy's coming up. Like, I read what it's about, and then you're like, wow, that's exactly what I needed. So it's just the trust, I guess.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great way to, especially if you're someone who's done that work and is
Right.
kind of in tune with yourself. I really feel like, you can sense um, what your body is craving and needing, and what you need to bring yourself back into balance for sure. And what doesn't interest you at all. Like some things maybe, just you just don't need or aren't the right vehicle for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, like, I guess the tinctures and the powder and the tea is like ingesting it. And then I know that you were mentioning that you were making some sort of skincare products.
Wow.
And then also, I don't know if this is herbalism or not, but I have like a self massage oil that I purchased for like my dosha, which is Ayurvedic thing. And it feels so good. Like, I'm obsessed with that self
Yeah.
massage oil. And I don't know if that's herbalism or like, yes.
Really? So, like, Ayurveda. Well, that's a
Yeah.
whole topic. But Ayurveda, starting to. I was going to say studying Ayurveda, but I would like scratching the surface because it's just such a broad topic.
Yeah.
Um, but just, I would encourage anyone to just read about the basic principles, and it'll kind of get you thinking in a way. Um, it really changed the way I thought about everything, and really
Mm.
facilitated this journey,
Mhm.
because it's very much based on what your body needs. So, and it's based on keeping us balanced and keeping us in tune with nature.
Mhm.
So, there was a lot of things that, once I kind of figured out my dosha,
Mm.
a lot of things made sense.
Mhm.
So, and then I was able to choose oils, like
Right.
you were talking about, choose herbs that, choose food
Right.
that that felt balancing to me, even if I didn't know it wasn't really what I was craving. And
Yeah.
craving could be anything. I mean, if your body's in balance, you can very freely follow your cravings.
Mm.
Um, if you've got a lot of mixed signals from, living out of balance, then maybe you need a little guidance. But, for example, I'm chronically cold, always have been my whole life. And then once I started looking into my dosha, yeah, I need warming oils, I need warming spices, warming foods.
Yeah.
I always used coconut oil. on
Yeah.
my body, just because
Hmm.
everybody used coconut oil on everything.
Yeah.
And then I was instructed that for my dosha, sesame oil is what I need. Coconut oil is cooling, so that's why I was never feeling like,
Right.
nurtured.
Right.
So once I started doing sesame oil, then I felt like
Yeah.
you can tell what works for you and what doesn't.
Okay. Okay. Is herbalism then expanding like herbs, food, like body oils, like stuff you
Well,
probably use?
Ayurveda is kind of all encompassing. It's you're going to be recommended um, uh, herbs for your dosha,
Right.
activity for your dosha.
Yeah.
Um, like for me, a sport like skiing is like my worst nightmare. I'm a vata.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wind is hard for me. Cold is not good for me.
Yeah.
Speed.
Yeah.
I need very grounding exercises, which is why I've always been drawn to yoga, like two bare feet on the ground.
Yeah.
Everything in from how you manage the weather, the seasons, and also part of Ayurveda. See, I didn't even know we were going to go this way. Is living in tune with the seasons, and each season has a dosha. So it seems like a really complex subject, but once you start, it's very intuitive, and
Mhm.
you kind of start making choices that you
Mhm.
know support your body through
Mhm.
changing seasons, through travel, through whatever it is you need.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's life changing to know that information. And even if you just take one thing from it, then that can be enough to make a big difference. And yeah, if you're curious on what your dosha is, you don't know what it is, you can easily Google it. And I know the Chopra Center website has a dosha quiz on it. And it won't take very long to figure out what yours is. And it's interesting. It does start that journey on a deeper level, about what works for me and like, oh, that's why I feel those ways. And yeah, but I definitely relate to you. I need to ground myself all the time. Yin,
Yeah,
meditation, like everything needs to slow down. So,
yeah, absolutely. And once it's like anything, just shining awareness on something is often enough to you know to feel it's to feel empowered to, and even if you don't act on it, just knowing, just understanding, like, this is why I'm drawn to this. Okay. And
yeah.
then you give yourself permission.
Mm.
Like, I would say maybe 10 years ago, yin yoga would not have been my daily practice for sure. I would have been like, I need to do something. But that was part of, I was 10 years younger. But knowing that, okay, these types of grounding practices
Mhm.
are what my body needs, gives you permission to just enjoy them and not feel like you should be doing something more, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we're all just trying to get away from that should life.
Uh, ugh, I know. It's, yeah,
Hey,
it's
yeah.
a lifelong journey.
Yeah, absolutely. So what, um, was there like a initial shift that you remember very vividly that when you first started to get into herbalism or anything that you're like, "Whoa, okay, this matters." Um,
I think for me, I've had this conversation with a few people, and they've had the same experience where, um, when I started reading and just diving into the topic, it didn't feel so much like learning
mm,
as it did remembering.
mm,
So it's like knowledge that it's almost like just coming home to yourself, if that makes sense.
yeah.
It's like forgotten knowledge. It's in our bodies, in our DNA, or it's in our cells, and we've just kind of not paid attention to it. So a lot of that is,
Mhm.
like I said, remembering. It's coming back to something, and that was a real eye opener for me too. That was um, encouraging, and made me want to help. It fueled that kind of passion to learn more, that curiosity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're just kind of drawn to it. You're like, oh, I've been missing this, and now I know that this is part of what it is. And yeah, yeah, that's cool. So then medicinal mushrooms, are they also herbs, or I don't know a lot about the terminology around stuff.
Yeah, yeah, and I wouldn't worry too much about the terms and just
Yeah.
they are technically herbs.
Okay.
Um, and something that I'm glad has been a lot more popular over the last few years. And yeah, in terms of like what specific herbs have been a real um, game changer for me, medicinal mushrooms for sure.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and you've been experimenting with them a little bit as well.
Yeah, yeah, I really did like the how reishi grounded in my body, but then I was having it like every day or twice a day, and then my stomach was like not happy with it. So I think it was some of the fermentation or something that the mushrooms do or something. I don't really know anything behind it, but I had to take a little break, and I go back sometimes, or like go to cola really resonates with me. But like
Taking that on your recommendation, actually. Sorry to interrupt you.
what'd you say?
I started taking the Gotu Cola on your recommendation.
What is your experience?
I really like it. I haven't taken it for long. I actually just brought some home and kind of forgot about it.
Yeah.
I brought some home a day that when you said you took it and enjoyed it. And then the more I read about it, the
Mm.
more I was like, yeah, I like this. Sorry to interrupt you.
Course, yeah, it's cool, it's a fun experimental journey. So I guess, like, maybe we'll talk a bit more about, like, the reasons why, I guess, someone would go into herbalism a little bit more, like, figure out something that resonates with them, like, what is the reason behind someone feeling the need to do this or wanting to do this?
Well, I think the biggest reason, and something that I hope everybody, and first I want to say, in the last, with everything that's been going on in the last 10 months, people have been, I feel that there's been more of an interest
Mhm.
in herbalism and herbal medicine. And um, I think the number one reason is that it's empowering.
Mm,
It's empowering, and it's important
yeah,
that the people understand that you have more control over your health than you think you do.
yeah,
Um, and I'm not saying that herbs are gonna treat a gunshot wound or it's not a replacement for
yeah,
Western medicine. There's room and a need for both.
yeah.
But I think that we have given up a lot of control of our health, and we've given up control of it has made a lot of people feel helpless, especially with everything that's been going on in the world.
Yeah.
And for me, having um, the ritual and the routine of kind of knowing how to bring my body into balance for with the day to day,
Yeah.
I feel really confident. I don't feel scared. I don't have any fear around my health. Feeling powerless is where a lot of that fear comes from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's the main message is to understand that you have more control than you think you do.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I definitely hear that. Like, yeah, it feels like in the past it's been more of like giving it up to just wait till the doctor says you need something or you're fine. Just shove it down or deal with it.
Yep.
But I truly believe all of us are so much more intuitive than we think we are. And if we're getting, even subtle messages that are like, you need to slow down, or you need more energy, or not that you need anything, but like just like a pull that like slowing down would be good, or like having more energy would be more in balance for you, or whatever it is, to, I guess, I don't know, just kind of follow that and maybe find herbs or medicinal mushrooms that, because they are used for certain purposes, like, right, like you can get an herb for anxiety, medicinal mushroom for energy, for clarity of mind, and I don't know anything beyond that, but I believe that, yeah, there's purposes that they have.
Well, if you look at where, I mean, this is a big topic, so I won't dive too deep, but where Western medicine originated, it all started in herbalism. And a lot of the drugs and medications that are prescribed now have their roots in plant compounds. And where did that come from? It came from wise women, healers. This is what medicine was before. Um, it was westernized. Like I said, that's a big topic that I won't dive too deep into. But what's really important, I think, and what I know to be true for sure, 100%, this is one of one of those big things that you just know in your bones,
Yeah.
is that your body communicates. It communicates everything, and it starts off subtle always. And the earlier that you listen, the less damage control there is to do. So if you hear those subtle hints of like, I'm tired, I need to rest,
Yeah.
like that could be just, that's a communication from your body. Um, Little things, skin issues, all those little things, headaches, body chronic pain, whatever it is. If we're aware and listening from the beginning, then we don't have to get to the point where it's full blown disease that needs treatment. Like there's always stops along the way.
Mhm.
Um, so again, it comes back to mindfulness. To how does your body feel after you drink a diet Pepsi?
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
that's just an
yeah, yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah,
Like, what does that do for you? How does it feel when you drink an herbal tea?
yeah,
Tuning in to how your body responds to different things.
yeah,
And if that feels abstract, I'd invite you to just like go walk in the woods, whether you do it every day or haven't done it in years. Like, notice how your body perks up. Like, you don't have to be an herbalist, you just have to be a human
yeah,
to feel that, right?
yeah.
It's if we ignore those symptoms, if we ignore those communications, it just gets louder and louder and louder,
Mhm.
because our body is not our enemy. Its number one goal, its only goal, is to keep us healthy.
Yeah.
So that's why it gives us these signals. So
Mhm.
it's not betraying us in any way.
Mhm.
Um, so that for me is kind of, that is what ties it all together.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and using our free will to act on those messages,
Yeah,
because
and trust yourself, right?
yeah, for me, like, matcha just resonates so well with my body, like, I guess that's an herb, maybe not, tea, it's a tea?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like it calms me down, it wakes me up, it makes me feel better, like happier, it lowers my anxiety, like
It's
so
very
many
grounding,
things. Yeah,
right?
it's very grounding. That's probably why. But yeah, like it can be simple things. Yeah, I guess.
So simple. And that's the other thing. You can go out and you can spend hundreds, you can spend thousands of dollars on herbs and superfoods,
Yeah.
really. For me, it, an herbal tea a day, and I
Yeah.
switch it up, it like is enough for me to feel,
Mhm.
and there's, I mean, I do other things, of course. I love medicinal mushrooms in the morning in my coffee.
Mhm.
Um, but it can be as simple as a cup of tea. And if
Mhm.
you don't know where to start, um, look into your past, like look into your ancestry. What would my great grandparents have used as an herb? And often that will feel, not always, but often that will feel like, yeah, this is what I need. Same with diet. Same with yeah.
Mm. Yeah, that makes sense because I'm half Chinese, and so if I think about the herbs, I know there's a lot of herbs in Chinese medicine. That yeah, resonate good with me, so likely. But yeah, that's very interesting, and when you said that, like ancestors, I think that's so powerful, but what I thought you were gonna say, which maybe you can speak to, I don't know if this is right or not, But like maybe if you're not sure where you are right now and what you need, maybe just look back at where you've been the past 2 years or 5 years and like who would your, 2-year-old or 5-year-old self, what would they have needed that you didn't give them, I guess, that you could in this moment?
Absolutely.
So maybe that's a way of thinking of it.
Yeah. And I love that exercise. I'm sure you have done, and maybe I think you did one recently, a compassion meditation of, was that you? I don't know. I feel like I heard this from, or we've had this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just thinking about yourself as a child
Mm,
and having compassion. It's a self-love meditation, like where you, if you find it difficult to give yourself that love and support, think about yourself as a 5-year-old and or a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old.
mm.
And yeah, it's much easier to find compassion for your child self than it is sometimes for your current self. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, I don't think that meditation was mine, I don't remember it, but that sounds really, yeah, good, and it's just that first step, I guess, of deciding that you're gonna put energy in for yourself.
Yes.
And I remember my mom was saying it because she's been very like work oriented and everything in her life, just how their generation was more. And she just, it clicked for her, I guess. I believe when she said to me, like, you put so much effort in taking care of your car and you put so much effort in taking care of your house and like, making sure it's all clean and perfect and running perfectly. And if one little thing goes wrong, you take it to the shop, you give it a break, et cetera, like whatever you do, it's like that's the same, that we need to take care of our bodies, and there's, like, no I don't
It,
know, like
but it's so funny. Like there's such a disconnect between those things. And I love that your mom recognized that. And I think about this all the time where we are like, you know, well, all this health food stuff is expensive and organic food is expensive. But it's when you think about going out to eat, or like you said, like if a light comes up on your car,
yeah,
um, you take care of that, and it's the same thing, that headache or that I always use skin because it's common,
yeah,
or that stomach pain, that's like your car light going off,
mm,
and we ignore it, we push through, because we don't value ourselves, but we do value our possessions.
yeah,
It's very easy for us to think about what the monetary consequence of not getting your car fixed would be, but we, for some reason, don't think ahead to what the bigger consequence would be in our bodies if we keep ignoring those needs. So,
mhm, yeah,
yeah, it's definitely an important message that I think needs to be spoken about more.
mhm, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, something that I've thought about, and I think I heard a spiritual teacher talk about, was just, like, over time, you allow your body to be the master and your mind to be the servant. And I've noticed that, like, when my mind gets into the master position, that's when it starts like pushing down the signals. Like, it's like, nope, I want this next desire. I want this next achievement. I want this next like pleasure, whatever it is. And then the body just gets dragged around. And I kind of think of it as like my head just like dragging my body around. And when I notice that start to happen, I'm like, okay, stop, surrender the mind a bit. What does the body need? And it can be as simple as like you said, like I need rest now. So then
Water,
or
right?
yeah, something simple or water. And then your mind is the one that decides, okay, I'm gonna pick myself up and move to the couch, or I'm gonna go get a glass and make
Yeah.
that happen, I guess. So
I
yeah.
feel like, I mean, this is something I always, and I feel like I say it so much that people are like, okay, new message at the end of my classes. uh, when I have people in Shavasana, I often just try as best as I can to get them to just like, how are you feeling now? Anyone who, I think most people at this point have probably at least practiced yoga,
Mhm.
and whatever they felt about the movement part of it. Usually, uh, for most people, shavasana is they at least get a glimpse of that idea that your mind, body, spirit, energy are all just in the same place at the same time for even just a moment, right?
Yeah.
So I always try to remind people, like, okay, become aware of how you're feeling now. Like, can you take this with you? If you could take this with you
Mhm.
and access it, which you can
Mhm.
with practice,
Mhm.
what kind of decisions would you make in your life? Like, you just, it's such a,
Mhm.
if it like if it seems abstract, I think just connecting it to that moment of your practice would allow people to understand
Mm.
um, that connection.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like that because that is the time that you're right, most people get a glimpse of it, and it is that exact same space that makes the best choices throughout our day.
Think about how many times, like, I if I am at a class with a teacher that I resonate with, or
Mhm.
even in my own self practice,
Mhm.
how many times you're in shavasana and all of a sudden, like, you figure out
Yeah,
everything that's been weighing on your mind, it makes sense in that moment, which
yeah.
is why I always encourage like a journal beside you, because you'll forget as soon as you
Mhm.
try to come back into regular life. But everything's just so clear,
Yeah.
right? It's just because you're in your body, like you're out of your head.
Mhm, mhm. You've allowed yourself to let go and receive, receive, receive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess, is there anything you wanna chat about in the realm of just slowing down? I know we're in this very go, go, go society, and Vivian is definitely someone that lives the practice of being slow, and I've really tried to do that more in my own life, and it's made big differences. But yeah, I wanna hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because I honestly, I don't can't even tell you how many years I've, like, kind of felt, maybe I haven't recognized it, but felt guilty about just craving slow. Like, I'm a slow person. I like a slow day. I like a lot of space in my day. And
Yeah.
it is until recently that I realized, like, that's what we all need.
Mm.
Um, so tying all of this together, from nutrition to yoga to herbalism, for me, it comes down to just making the simplicity of every day sacred. So, what do you do every single day? And it doesn't, you don't have to be on some glamorous vacation or doing something exciting every day. Like, how can you make every part of your day sacred,
Mm.
and live kind of in reverence? And for me, that's it's ritual. It's
Mhm.
slowing down enough to, make my morning coffee sacred, make my skincare routine sacred, make, you talked about the Ayurvedic oil that you love.
Yeah.
How many times do we get out of the shower, moisturize quickly, and go? Like, slow down, make that moment sacred,
Yes.
make it an act of self care.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's kind of what ties it all together for me.
Mhm. Yeah, it's really resonates with me because I'm deeply in that process of that as well, and what initiated that for me was years ago, this one line I read in Yoga Journal that just stuck out at me, and I just dropped the book, and I was like and that was that no moment is more important than another.
Yeah.
And I always kind of come back to that because, I mean, for one reason, I mean, when we start pushing and pulling at life, it creates a lot of suffering. But on like another level, it's like exactly what you're talking about. It's like recognizing that every moment has the potential to be sacred and to be a place of connection, which, like you said, and like I've experienced deeply in my own life, I honestly, from my own experience, think that's nearly impossible to do when you're rushing. Like,
Totally.
Like, I have no idea how someone can race through their life and treat it as sacred at the same time. It just doesn't seem to click. It doesn't seem to work. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
Mhm.
Um, and I don't know anybody that is able to do that all the time, right? So it's not another
Mhm.
thing. It's not another should. It's just
Yeah.
it's good awareness of your habits and awareness of how you feel. So I know I make better choices when I slow down.
Yeah.
So I've built into my day just kind of unwritten rules for myself. Like my morning coffee is no electronics.
Yeah.
And obviously I have a family, I can't control what everyone around me does, but I try more mornings than not to make coffee, to sit, to read, or to just sit. And that for me has just been okay. My day starts like this.
Yeah.
In my coffee, it's a ritual. I make it an elixir. I put herbal medicine in it. I think about what I'm putting into it and what it does to my body.
Mhm.
And I, feel good drinking it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
we talked about, we briefly touched on the skincare products that I have made.
Yeah.
Um, and the reason that first of all, the reason that I did that, aside from it's just like super fun to play with herbs in that way, but is because I want to, like have this
Mm.
facial clean, just like this beautiful mix of herbs. I wish you could smell it: rose, calendula, chamomile, lavender.
Yeah.
Each one of these herbs has, yes, a medicinal component and does something good and positive for your skin. But just using this, um, I remember the energy behind making it. Like
Mm.
it's sensory. It makes me stop and slow down. It connects me to nature. So one of those like super um, mundane things that we think we do, like washing your face, or even doing a face mask or something like that. When it's different when you go out and purchase one and from Sephora or whatever that has like who
Yeah.
knows what chemicals in it.
Yeah.
And it's different when you know that, this was made with love and I'm just going to take a few minutes and, maybe do a meditation while you've got it on all of that, the ritual.
Mhm.
Making everything in your life as beautiful as you can make it, and that's a sacred act.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, that's it. And how good does it feel? Like, in those moments, like, nurturing yourself is just like
It's a totally different experience. And, that's why I'm a big as much as you can afford, I like to buy things that are quality, that are natural, that are made by, people who I know share my values, by companies who share my values. I think we need to look beyond just the physical, properties of what we interact with and look at the energetics behind it. Who grew your food? Who made your, skincare products? Um, everything has an energy, and we
ab
absorb it, right?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, you're absorbing the energy, and even if you don't notice it, like, it's an underlying thing that if there's too many things bought, unconsciously or filled with chemicals, then your body's gonna
Yeah.
start to push back a bit and you're going to feel weaker or more tired or more disconnected. So it is those things. So yeah, I guess that leads me into asking you about your herbal business. Is that what it is? Vivian just mentioned this to me, and she is Greek. Her family's from Greece, and so she mentioned to me they've been importing these herbs and packaging them. So let's hear about that.
Yeah. So, just, in context with everything we've talked about,
Yeah.
my family's from a really small village, on Mount Olympus in Greece, and it's just a spectacularly, the nature of it is spectacular. The topography, it really is just a beautiful place, but also just, a special place of connection for me as well.
Mhm.
And there are, a handful of herbs and teas that grow there, some of which that only grow on that mountain,
Mm,
um, that just resonate with me and that are definitely superfoods, high antioxidant, beautiful products.
yeah,
So in these last, has it been 10 months now? Well, since everything kind of started? I don't
I
know.
don't
Like many people, in our family, we just took the time to just stop and think, like, what is actually important to us? And
Mm,
bigger than that, what do we want to contribute and what do we want to put out into the world? Going
mm,
back to energy and the energy of the things you include in your life.
yeah,
And this was a theme that kept coming up. So we started the process of trying to import these products that we know are good for people, farmed by small, more local farmers, supporting the small local economy of a place we really care about. Just all down the line, it felt really good.
yeah.
They just arrived right before Christmas and are being packed up now. And those will be available hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So we're super excited to share that.
That's super exciting and sounds so wholesome and fulfilling and wow. And so how are they gonna be sold? Like just herbs on their own? Are they gonna be like put together in certain ways?
Yeah, so I've got there are herbs and that can be used for culinary purposes, for medicinal teas. So yeah, they'll each be packed up on their own with instructions on how to use them and all of that.
Cool.
So
Well,
I'm
I'll definitely be buying some.
yay.
And what's the name? You told me the name. It sounded
Yeah,
really
name is Apothiki. So that's a Greek word. It's almost like a storeroom, or it's
okay.
somewhere where, like in my grandparents' house, where they stored all the herbs that they would pick
Yeah.
and dry them. It's where they would keep their ferments, all the nuts, seeds, grains, and yeah. So that kind of had a special meaning for us. Yeah.
Mm. Well, so many chills listening to this. It sounds so in alignment, and I'm so
Yes.
excited for you and your family and the impact and the mindfulness behind it. And yeah, I'll
Yeah.
be linking anything Vivian has about that business to the caption of this. So please check it out if you're interested. It'll be a great way to kind of dive into herbalism and just try maybe one thing that you can incorporate into your day and slow down with. So yeah, thank you so much. This was fulfilling and insightful, and I'm so happy that I had you on.
Thank you for having me. I always love to chat with you, and I can't wait to see you in person
No.
again
Yeah, we teach at the same studio classes back to back, so we usually get to see each other on a weekly basis, but
soon.
soon,
Soon.
soon, soon. All right. Well, thank you so much, Eyes of the Wheel, for listening to this episode, and we'll see you next time.